Hi and welcome back to another session of In the Details with me, Jesse, here at Glass Crafters. So we've been doing our series on tinned wire and all the things that you can do with it. We've already covered how to braid it, which is one product that I'm going to be using for today's demo, which is decoration. We've also gone over reinforcement, and we have one more session after this. So when you take braided wire, on its own is pretty thin. You can get much thicker varieties like this, but that wouldn't be very pretty for a pumpkin stem, which is what we're doing today. So instead, we went ahead and we braided some wire, twisted it together. See the previous video for how. Now, remember, this stuff solders very well because it's copper, which is very bendable and pliable and does solder well, coated in tin, which is one of the two ingredients of our solder, and solder loves best to stick to itself. So what we're going to do today is we are using this as a stem to attach to our pumpkin here, and it is going to provide us with a twisted loop in 3-dimensional so that we can attach our pumpkin leaves. There's one other thing we can do with it. I'm going to do that first, and that is that we can go ahead and we can add a little more dimension to our pieces. I'm going to use some regular non-braided tinned wire for that. So I just need a section, and I am going to dab a little flux onto the points where I want it to attach and get a little solder on the tip of my iron, and we are going to just put it where it needs to go and add a good sized dab of solder to hold the wire in place. Now you can see already what I'm doing. I'm adding a line and dimension to my leaf. It would have been a bunch of extra effort, and the pattern didn't include it, to put a line down the middle of the leaf in turning this into 2 pieces of glass. But by using this tinned wire, we can add that dimension and detail to our piece without dealing with smaller and smaller pieces of glass. So I've just cut it so that it reaches about to where I need it to be. You don't want it to go over the edge, but just far enough. Again, if you're not me and you don't enjoy burning, use gloves to hold this in place. The heat's going to travel really quickly, so I'm going to dab it and move my fingers out real quick. There we go. If I held them there long enough, the heat would travel up and I would deeply regret it. So there we go. We have a leaf with a little bit more dimension to it. You could add more if you wanted, going from here to here and tacking here and then at those points. I'm not going to do that for the sake of brevity, but you could. So now we're going to go ahead here, and we are going to do one leaf up here. And if you've ever done any 3-dimensional soldering, you can just lay it right on top of another piece of glass, and you'll tack it where the solder meets. So I'm going to prepare it by having this leaf there first, and I'm going to go ahead and I spread some flux where these two touch. I'm going to go ahead and just melt their solders together. I'm applying the heat of the iron to where the 2 lines go. I'll show you here. See, I just tack soldered a little bit right there. Now it is firmly attached. Whenever you attach something, try to have multiple points of contact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also do it right over here, add a little more solder, and melt the 2 together. Now this is much more firmly attached. Now we're going to go ahead, and on the back side, we're going to attach our braided wire. Now with anything you solder, you want to flux it so it'll stick nice and cleanly. So I've got my wire here. I want it to hide behind the leaf so that it looks natural. So I'm going to start right there, and I'm just melting it right over it and attaching it to the solder lines. Nice and neat. It's easy. Remember, this stuff, being of the same material, wants to solder. Now to make it more secure, I'm going to dab at least a little bit along the top so that it adheres to the top of my pumpkin as well. It's not just stuck to that little leaf. I need a little more solder because the wire, being braided, likes to absorb some of the solder, go into the braid. So there we go. We have it like that. Now I want to do something creative and loopy with it, so I'm going to bend it into the position that I like. I have 2 leaves left. I could have made more leaves. I thought 3 was a good balanced number. So you could do this whatever way you want. The original pattern, which you can find on our website under free patterns or our seasonal section, has 4 leaves and curls down and around. I am debating whether to go that way. I think I'll go that way. It was a good idea. So it goes down like this, and then it goes around. So to keep this wire in place, do like we did up top. Go ahead and pick a spot and just solder it don't melt it all the way down into it, just tack it in place so that it's going to, oops, there's that heat transfer. Try to hold it further down or wear gloves so that you don't burn your fingies off. There we go. It'll stay in place. Now I can move on to my next curl, like this. I probably have too much wire, but that's easily fixed. I could snip it. Or I might make, enough of a spiral here that I don't need to snip it. I'm probably going to end up snipping it just for how it looks. Because that tip, I don't really care for. Now this wire is very bendable, so I can keep going back and forth and get it just how I like it. But that tip there is very straight. So just regular wire cutters, press and snip. You may have to use a good bit of force depending on how thick your wire got. There we go, I like my little spiral. Now, it's supported here and here. I'm going to give it one more spot that's attached right down here. So hold it somewhere not near it so the heat transfer doesn't get to you, or wear your gloves. I do not have enough solder, so I'm going to get some more solder. And there, we just need a little bit. Now it's held in place. We got a beautiful spiral. We're going to attach our leaves. So I've got a big leaf and a little leaf. I'm going to use the big leaf up here. I'm just laying it right over. I'm trying to line it up so that it aesthetically looks like this vine grows through the leaf, or the leaf grows off the vine at least. I have fluxed it on the wire and on the piece. I'm just going to add a little bit more flux right there. I need to get it to more flux, so there, it attached to the wire. Now 1 point is not enough. I cannot stress this enough. If you left that like this, see, I can flex it, I can pull it, I could pull it right off. The foil on the edge is all that's holding it in place, and it would rip away. So I'm going to do it again and do it over here. I might have to get more solder. Yep, I have to get more solder. And I'm going to get it in place, get it onto that wire. Now that's a little messy because it took some of the solder off my edge, so I'm going to hold it up parallel to the floor and add some solder back to round out my edge. Remember, soldering is a calm space because there's nothing that you mess up that you can't fix easily. Now we have one leaf left, and I'm going to decide where to put it. I think somewhere down near the end, but not attached to the end. I want it to stay springy and free, so probably about there. Maybe about like that. You could do whatever you wanted with it. You could put it on the tip. I feel like I should have done a big one up here and done the small one on the end, but c'est la vie. Anyone who views this after me separately is not going to know or care. They're going to think it's beautiful, which it is. That's a separate lesson. As an artist, don't get caught up in your vision in your head of how perfect this piece should be. Because if you walk away and come back, or you have someone else look at it, they're going to not see that idealized vision in your head. They're going to see how beautiful it is as it is. All right, now we have gone ahead and we've made our beautiful spiral, and these pieces are firmly attached. All right, stay tuned for our next video, which is how to hang this with some more tinned wire.